Okay, and we're finally going to get into recovering these dining chairs I told y'all about a couple weeks ago. You see the old material. We have to make sure that we take out all the staples. This is a dust cover. It also has a cording or welting cord around the bottom of it, and then the fabric itself is stapled. So there's going to be 3 different sets of staples I'm going to have to remove from this, and there are 8 cushions total. So it's very important to make sure that you get all of the staples removed, because they will inevitably get in the way whenever you're putting your new material in. Unless you want to just, I'm going to reuse the dust covers, and so you'll see me number each dust cover to each bottom because they are matched to that bottom. So it just works better to keep them with the ones that they came off of. But you definitely want to take your time and make sure you get all the pieces out, because whenever you go to staple the new in, it can cause your staples to not penetrate the wood. Okay, so this one seat took me over an hour to take completely down. So I figured that you guys probably wouldn't want to watch me take down every single seat since there are 8 of them. So whenever I finish this one, you will see me take shots of each individual side as I take it down from the dust cover to the welting cord and each side of the material itself. So I worked on these seats for over 2 weeks collectively because I just had other projects going on. So it was a work in progress the whole time. Alright, we're finally to number 8, and I will take the very last side down on camera and then get to that. This took me a couple days taking them all down. Like I said, I just had a bunch of projects going on. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is tape 4 pieces of printer paper together just so that I have a large enough surface to be able to draw a pattern out from the frame of the cushion. It's a seat bottom to a dining chair, so I'm just gonna make a pattern that I will use to cut my foam out for my seats. When you're cutting new foam for a seat plate like this, you're gonna cut your foam a 1/2 inch larger than the seat plate itself all the way around. So I'm just taking my measurements here a 1/2 inch all the way around, and I'm just gonna line it up and connect all my lines together to cut out my pattern as straight as possible, because I want my foam to be as accurate as possible. Okay, here I have my Sharpie out and I'm just tracing my pattern, and I'm going to ultimately decide to go side by side, alternating between which face is down and which face is up, because one edge is more narrow than the other, and so I'm just going to do the opposite on the other 4 that's going to be directly above that first set of drawings I did. And then I will take my electric knife. It had a bad fold in it, so I was trying to straighten that fold out. Here I take my electric knife and go ahead and just piece it out, and I'll come back through and straighten all those lines up better, and just do my curves a little bit better, more cleaner edges after I get the general bulk cut. I also want to say that whenever you're cutting foam this thick, you have to make sure that your knife stays as level as possible when you're cutting through, because if you hold it at any kind of an angle, like if the bottom part of your knife is in more, then you're going to lose a lot of volume in your material that you have. So just try to keep it as levelly straight as possible whenever you're cutting through something this thick. And here are my notes from whenever I took class for upholstery. So if you want to screenshot or pause it and get a good look at the notes that I took or had, to just kind of get you an idea. If you want to do it yourself, go for that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I will reach out and help in any way I can. Guys, this piece of material was so long. I fought with it so much that I decided to just mark out the markings worth of 4 pieces that I was going to need, and then I folded it over and pinned it together so that it wouldn't shift, and cut the length. Then I was just going to go through and cut, well, really it was the width that I cut, and then I just went through and I cut the length 2 at a time since it was doubled, and it was just a easier way to control so much material. And my cutting table is not really a cutting table, so the surface space isn't really that much. And here we call this the north, south, east, and west initial pins, and it's just to hold everything in place so it doesn't shift while you're getting the other staples in. And typically, I've noticed myself, I have to take those specific first staples out, because if I don't, it will have pull marks in the material, and you want it to be as smooth looking as possible. You want it to look professional. So you see the pull marks there whenever I held it up. I'm going to go through and I'm going to make sure that those lines end up being as straight as possible and nothing is pulled too tight in one area or the other. So that's something to really pay attention to whenever you're working with lined material. It's not exactly my favorite material to work with, but the client picked it, she bought it. I'm completely okay with working with it. You just have to make sure that your lines stay as straight as possible because anything pulled too tight will definitely show on these lines. And what I had to do there was I had to take one side out because my cushion had shifted really hard inside after I had already got everything stapled down. And so I just took one side down that I was going to have to restaple anyway and shifted my foam in the fabric until it was more accurate where I needed it. And you see the pull marks there. You just got to make sure that you pull those staples out that are making those pull marks. And what you see me doing here is I'm just pulling up and making sure that it's pretty much even all the way around the cushion before I ever even laid the plate down, because it's just easier to get an idea of where I'm going to need it to sit. I honestly should have cut it wider than what I did. I had plenty of material. I can't really tell you why I messed up that measurement, but it's fine. I made it work. I figured out that if I pushed down on the plate itself and smashed that foam down, it made it so much easier for me to make my line straight initially instead of having to keep taking down staples to fix my pull marks from, one staple being just a little too tight. So I made it work, and it started going pretty quickly once I figured that out. So here I have changed rooms. I'm telling you, it's been a busy couple of weeks. So, and for some reason, I'm recording with my phone, and my phone just kept stopping, and I was losing minutes and spaces of work before I realized that it was stopping. And then it just, I couldn't record anymore. I don't really know what happened there. So I recorded until I couldn't record anymore, and this is what you get. Sorry I don't have a better camera. I also want to point out that whenever you're doing the corners, if you see I'm folding the edges a specific way on the front and the back, whatever you do to one side, you want to do to all four sides. And so I was making sure that I folded it a specific way each time. So it's really important to remember whether you're doing one seat or eight. You want all of them to be cohesive with each other. So make sure that whatever you decide to do, you stick to it to all seats, all corners of all seats. And here I'm just taking my hammer and I'm really tapping those staples down because I don't want anything sticking out to where if somebody reaches down and pulls their seat forward or whatever, that, a staple catches them. So I'm just making sure that everything is really smooth so that it doesn't injure anybody. This is the last thing I got to record, so here is your shot of your finished 8 seats. And I sprayed them with 3 layers of Scotchgard as requested by the client, and she is loving them, and I'm pretty proud of them myself. So hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time.